Hello and welcome to another episode of Amy Hart's Mums Club, the podcast where I journey through the highs and lows of parenting alongside a gaggle of fabulous guests. That's not all. This podcast is also for you. So don't forget to check out our social medias at Amy Hart's Mums Club on TikTok and Instagram. And don't forget to follow or subscribe to this podcast wherever you are watching or listening. Today, my guest, she does everything. She's got her own charitable foundation. She's a TV presenter. She's an author and she's a mum to two girls. Please welcome Katie Piper.
Ah, thank you. That's such a lovely intro.
Oh,
And I just realised I've got my mummy mug, and that wasn't.
oh, yeah. I love that. I love that. I don't drink hot drinks, so I'm just got my squash.
Ah.
My boring squash. So being a mum, you've got two girls, Bella and Penelope. How do you find being a mum with everything you do, just trying to juggle it all?
Yeah, so she's going up to year 7 in September. So she's 11. So she's going to go into a whole new stage of her life. She's still very much my baby, she's my firstborn. And then P is 7 years old. So she's going to go up to year 3 in September. And it changes every year. Like, you definitely don't figure everything out and have a routine that you do forever. Like, each year their needs change. But yeah, I have a real respect for mums or dads that do it by themselves, because, it's a real teamwork with me and my husband Rich. Like, we both work. So it's constantly having these really dull WhatsApp chats all about logistics and, you know.
We have a WhatsApp group called Stanley Care, which is me, my husband, my mum, and my dad. And I'm like, I need these dates. Thank you.
And you don't always get it right. And you often, like in your marriage, you get jealous of each other. If one gets a bit more freedom than the other, you get resentful. And I do think that's just part of like collaborating together on these little tiny lives.
Yeah, I saw a woman on TikTok this morning, and she's a single mum to three kids who are like 9, 7, and 4. And then she tried for a fourth child and got triplets naturally.
Oh
So
my
she's
goodness.
single mum to six kids.
Wow, that's
But
incredible.
her house is a tight shit. I went down the rabbit
Yeah.
hole of like her whole account. Her house is a tight shit.
Yeah, a
You
lot of
find
discipline.
Do you find you have to be quite organized? Because I feel like our house is quite chaotic, but then my excuse is, well, I haven't got a normal job, so my life's chaotic, so my house is chaotic. But do you try and like keep everything quite regimented?
Yeah, it's funny because I think, when you're younger, you associate that with being boring, and old and all these things. And then as you get older, you start buying whiteboards and planners, and you start color coding things, and you realize actually what seems really ordered, still our house is chaos, and we still try and have all that order, and we still forget PE kits and lunch boxes and all these things. But yeah, I do think you need a little bit of that. And my biggest tip is I get up before the house so that I kind of buy myself an extra hour to do things. But stuff always goes wrong, and it's always chaotic, and people are always in odd socks and going out in stained clothing. And you just kind of have to be a bit laid back, because if you get too regimented, then you always feel like a failure as a mother, as a woman. So I think you have to be a little bit kind of like compassionate and kind to yourself as well.
Yeah. I yeah, I completely agree. Like I just like, do you know what? As long as everyone gets through the day, we're okay. We're okay.
Exactly. We're alive.
Exactly. How do you feel about Belle going to senior school? Because when I was a kid, so I'm from an area we were the last people to change, I think. So we had first, middle, and high school. So we
Okay.
didn't go to high school until year 8. And I just feel like year 7 is like so young to go to high school.
Yeah, it does feel like that. And when they're your child, you think, well, they're still a little girl. And I suppose actually they're starting to make that transition into being like, I suppose the saying now is tweenager, isn't it? They're not quite teen, but they are having some big changes in their life. I feel excited for her. And I feel like, this is the start of the world being her oyster. And, part of me always wants to just have a baby in a blanket in my arms, but I know that's not realistic. And it's interesting, my personal life has changed, my career has changed, whether that be in telly or in writing, where I'm doing things that are more sort of catering to children and families. And this recent collaboration where I'm working with ASICS on their new undropped
Hmm.
kit, that is all about girls in secondary school, which is where my baby is heading in September. And, anyone that follows me on Instagram knows I absolutely love running. I do a lot of races to raise money for my charity, the Katie Piper Foundation. And I started working with ASICS following their state of mind study they did in 2024. And this is all about the connection of like physical and mental well-being connected to exercise, right? I mean, we know exercise is good for us physically, and I think we're starting to get better around this conversation of mental health being connected to it. But they had these kind of shocking stats that came out of it, where it was like 64% of teenage girls drop out of sport before they turn 16. And they say this is due to the kit being uncomfortable. Now, for me, Belle is so sporty and she's a runner just like me, right? And I get this like big bursting rush of like endorphins and pride seeing her run around that track. And I would hate for something as simple as the shorts being a light colour and her worrying about leaks or sweat patches to mean she stops doing that running, or for the kit to be one kit all year round and she doesn't want to get drenched on the hockey pitch and she stops. So I feel really, really passionate about we need to keep talking to our young girls and communicating with them. And if there are barriers in life that are stopping their physical or mental wellness, we need to understand them as parents
Mm.
and work through them.
So the undropped kit, what does it look like? Tell me.
It's pretty cool actually because I don't know if you have any like bad memories from PE. Like, I went to school in the like 80s and 90s, and I just remember it being one skirt and one short sleeve t-shirt for all year round in the UK. So, and it was the light colour, my PE kit. So I remember like big sweat patches, no waterproof clothing. It was really uncomfortable. We were all developing at different times. So the undrop kit wants to address this, and it wants to recognize that confidence, resilience, and self worth is massively linked to sport and being physically active. So they've created this kind of like suggestion, and they worked with Burnley High School, and actually Burnley High School is one of the regions in the UK with the lowest participation of PE. So we asked these girls, we were like, we don't want to make up your mind of what you need. Tell us what you need and what you need. And 70% of them were like, well, if you get the kit right, we would participate in PE more. So you think like 70% is huge. So it's things like darker colours, bungee cords to make it baggy or more fitted, emergency hairband on the zip if you forget your hair tie, hoods, waterproof clothing, all kinds of different things. Like when you think about it, how are we having this conversation in 2025,
Yeah, I mean, one thing for PE, I didn't enjoy PE. I like running now. I've got into my running. I did a learn to run course, which is basically like couch to 5K, but with a running club. So you sort of like start with the same group and you like run and my mum's part of the running club. And I was just say to her like, oh, what music do you listen to when you run? She's like, I don't, I just chat. And I was like, you what?
Yeah,
And
that's
she's like,
me
yeah, I
too.
chat. And now, like, yeah, I just chat the whole way around. I love it.
So
Um,
do you like running now then? Like, has it
yeah,
changed? Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that's really
really like
cool.
running. Um,
Yeah.
and also like reformer Pilates, I'm really into at the moment. Obviously, like
I've
everyone.
got into that as
Yes,
well. Yeah. It's
I'm on
quite.
the bandwagon.
Yeah. I thought it would be really easy. I thought it would just be like stretching, but I did it
Mm,
and I was actually shaking. And I was like, no, you have to be
yeah.
really. Yeah.
Um, but I realized I've been going to the actual gym for like 10 years and I don't enjoy going to the gym. I go because I
Yeah.
have to. So now I've
Yeah.
found other things that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And like I tried to
Gotcha.
run on I tried to run on a treadmill after doing my learn to run course. And I was like, oh, I used to be able to run on a treadmill for an hour. And after like 3 minutes, I thought this is so boring. But going
Yeah.
back to the PE thing, I hated PE. But then our school, I mean, we were very lucky. They were clearly like ahead of the times. Our school were a bit like, okay, so you'll hate PE. What about if we took you down to like the local swimming centre
Oh, that's
and you can
amazing.
either swim or you can go in the gym? So
Yeah.
we're
That
like that
choice.
sort of, yeah, it was really good.
And I think that choice is so important because it's never one size fits all. And you imagine if you didn't have that choice, like it's not about making young girls into athletes, but it's about giving people the choice to find the thing that works for them. Because what sport does later in life is it can make us meet more people, make more friends. It could help us meet potential partners. It could give us confidence at work to go for a job promotion. It's not about necessarily going into sport as a career per se.
Hmm.
Um, and it's funny because when I talked to Richie, my husband, he was like, well, it's different for guys because guys carry on playing football, they carry on playing rugby, they meet up in the evenings to do team sports. And I was like, yeah, girls don't really do that. That's just not
No.
something that happens up. Once we leave school, that's it. you know?
A lot of my friends started like a netball team,
Mhm.
probably like 5, 6 years ago. But now, because everyone's got young kids,
Mm,
it's like nobody really does it
commitment.
anymore.
Yeah, and then I'm even guilty a bit myself. Like I'm super sporty, but sometimes by the end of the day, like work, putting the kids to bed, I just want to watch like Real Housewives on the sofa.
Yeah. That's the thing. We're like a late rising family. So my little boy doesn't wake up to sort of like 8:30, 9. So I don't get up
Okay.
until he does. But that's because we all go to bed quite like he goes to bed at
Yeah.
like 8:30, 9 in the evening. And my husband keeps saying to me, if you just got up at 7 o'clock, you'd be able to get so much done. And I was like,
Yeah.
"But I have the evenings. And she said, but you don't do anything. It's like by the time it gets to the evening,
You're
you're
gonna
like,
have to change that when you go to school. You're gonna have to
I
change.
know, I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it. I keep bridging the thing of homeschooling. He's like, we can't homeschool just because we don't like getting up earlier. This is true.
Well, just enjoy it while you can do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Talking of Stanley going to school and like learning to read and stuff, let's talk about Teeny Mouse.
Yeah.
I haven't got the newest one, which is the Christmas one, Your Greatest
Yeah.
Gift. But
Mm.
don't need it yet because I'm going to put it as part of my book advent calendar that I do every year because I like to swap the books in and out.
I need
Um,
to send it to you. Yeah, that's gorgeous.
but so Teeny Mouse, why did you choose a mouse?
So the whole point of Teeny Mouse, she's female, she's a mouse. So she's small, but she's mighty. So she represents that you cannot look at somebody and just from their size, stature, race, ethnicity, face, whatever it is, and decide what they're capable of. Because what we find in all three of these books is that Teeny Mouse is capable of some pretty amazing things and she can overcome adversity. But even she didn't realize that, she had this kind of preconceived idea of what she could and couldn't do because of the limitations that society placed on her. And the whole concept of Teeny Mouse came from I've been writing adults books for years, and my girls wanted to read my books. And I was like, they're not really written, particularly in the first few years of my kids' lives, they were not really written for that age group. And I thought, but the message is universal. And again, it goes back to this passion that I have for empowering young girls. And actually, our levels of confidence and self-worth as an adult are determined as young as like 2, 3 years old,
Mhm.
right? So the message needs to start young. So I started writing the Teeny Mice books really just for my kids. And I thought what I did, I worked with this brilliant illustrator who brings it to life with these vibrant colors. She's called Telia, and she's just so talented, a young woman. And I thought it was going to be for age 3 to 5, but actually, my eldest worked on the books with me. She's a bit of a consultant. She tells me what does and doesn't
Yeah,
work. And even she still reads them. She reads them to her little sister at night time. So it's got the same messages that I have in my adult book about not underestimating yourself. And you see in the latest one, Your Greatest Gift, it's like society tells us that everything we need to go and buy, acquire. It's from validation from other people, and it's not. Teeny Mice finds out in that most recent book, her greatest gift is within her, and it's for free, and it's not a material thing. And actually, at the end of the story, she feels like she has nothing left to give because she's given away all these things. And then she realizes the greatest gift she has to give away is love, and we are living in such divisive times where empathy is lacking. You can kind of despair on humanity, and actually having empathy and giving out love and kindness to people, it may sound cliche, but it's so important, like more than ever.
it is. Um, Obviously you've got three, so we've got All You Need, and then we've got Together We Are Stronger, and then the next one is Your Greatest Gift, which is a Christmas book. Are you a Christmas gal?
Yeah, I am, and I'm one of those people that's already thinking it's not long till Christmas.
I mean, that is my next question. So I am on a bit of a mission to sort of make Christmas the most magical for my little boy. I want to be a magical Christmas mum, and I feel like there are so many magical Christmas mums who have come before me. So Katie Piper, what is your top magical thing you do at Christmas?
Well, it's a number of things, and I don't think it's about because there are some really expensive things now, and I think on social media you get that comparison of like, oh my God, people are going to the real Lapland. How could I ever do that? And it can make you feel bad about yourself. And I think that's not, we're losing the spirit of what Christmas is. I think the thing that you can give your children, and I've seen it in my own children, the thing that they value and remember is time. And that's hard if you work and you can't get time off from work. So it's time. And when you're with them, it's finding all those activities that actually social media can be really good for: the crafting, the stuff outdoors, the imaginary play, the make believe stuff. I mean, we do loads of things where we go and collect like basically loads of dead leaves, and then we get little like foam sort of foundations for a wreath off Amazon, and we stick all the leaves in and make the worst wreaths ever that you just don't want on your front door, and then we give them away to like grandparents so we don't have to have them on our front door. But I try, and also I try and listen to my kids throughout the year. So they'll say things they want, and I'll make a little thing in my iPhone notes section of like, right, they want these little toys or they want this, and I'll make all my stocking fillers because you get to like November, December, and you can't remember what they want to do, what they're interested in. So that list really helps. And then also, if you want to spread the cost, you can obviously start shopping, whether it's on TikTok Shop, Amazon, always looking for all those kind of online places where you can get good deals and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, don't lose that spirit and just remember, like, think about your own childhood. Like, definitely when I reflect, I remember the times with my family. I remember when they were there. I don't actually remember the material gifts and what they were each year. I really
Yeah.
don't.
The only thing I always remember is, and if you've got any little ones listening, skip forward 30 seconds now. Go. I'll tell it really quickly. I got some Spice Girls chocolate, and like Baby Spice was a strawberry cream. Like Sporty Spice was like, I can't remember what, I think it had a peanut in the middle. Like Posh Spice was a caramel one, and I was literally obsessed. So on my following year Christmas list, I wrote like, "Dear Santa, all I want for Christmas is the Spice Girls chocolates again." My mum was like, "Oh, he might not be able to get it." I was like, "Mum, he makes everything. Like, of course he can." Like,
Oh, well, listen, at the moment, I don't know if your little one's into this yet, but my kids are crazy for K-pop Demon Hunters.
no, he's only two, so
Oh, well, you're lucky to escape this trend because it's like the most annoying pop band ever. It's really hard to get merch. And, I'm just suddenly feeling really old because I'm like, I love the Spice Girls. Well, I love to take that.
mm.
And I've had to go down this rabbit hole of researching K-pop Demon Hunters. And then I've almost done like a 360 where I'm now singing all the songs and dancing all the
Yeah.
dances.
One thing I want to talk to you about as well, because it's a bit of a weird obsession of mine. Your TV show Katie Piper's Jailhouse. So I am like fascinated by prison and jail, and especially like the difference between American and UK prisons. I listen to lots of podcasts. What how is it when you go into the prisons?
Yeah, so I've done quite a lot of work in prisons in the UK before I started making my documentary series. And that was because, like, at my own Burns charity, we mentor lots of different men and women through sort of physical recovery of a burn injury and mental recovery. And I was coming across people that had been connected to the justice system, whether they'd been to prison themselves or whether they'd been attacked by somebody who was then in prison. And actually, it led me to sort of work more with women's aid around domestic violence. And then that led me to work in refuges and in women's prisons here in the UK, like off screen. Then I started developing a series in America, all around America, Jailhouse Mums for UNW channel, which was all about more specifically like maternity and family life. What happens when a pregnant woman goes to prison? What happens when a mother gets sent to prison with multiple children and gets a really long sentence, like we see in America, women get 100 years.
Yeah.
And then more recently, I went back to the US, just specifically to Louisiana, and I made another series for UNW called Locked Up in Louisiana, which wasn't maternity. It was actually all about why do women turn violent and how do we feel about them when they do and what happens to them. And in Louisiana, the reason I chose that state was there is no self-defense law. So it's kind of shoot or be shot. And in cases of domestic violence, if you do what you would consider defend yourself, there is no protection from the state. So that was a long job for me. I actually moved to New Orleans last year for a month to make it. So I didn't see my kids for a good sort of 3, 4 weeks and was just kind of FaceTiming them. So that was quite difficult.
Differences between sort of the treatment of women in the UK and the US in the prison system.
I suppose we have sort of shorter sentences, less space in our prisons where we can't lock as many people up. We have different types of crime because of different gun laws, and we don't have the opioid crisis per se that they do in America. So it is very different. But I think what's universal is how we treat women when they are anything other than what we believe they should be. So if they don't conform to being nurturers, if they don't conform to being maternal, we don't know how to deal with them. And, what I found for all women, whether it was through my voluntary work in the UK or whether it was through my documentary stuff in America, was they all had some kind of trauma, some kind of childhood trauma or addiction. And, going back to what I was talking about earlier about when and why we should install confidence and self worth into our young women, and it being something as simple as PE and sport, this is the knock-on effect we see later on in life where people end up with this lack of self-worth, and they go to these negative coping mechanisms and they become vulnerable to people that might not have their best interests at heart. It's all intrinsically linked. Something as simple as having the right shorts and being able to go running is linked to things like my documentaries in prison, which sounds crazy.
It's all linked, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, just before we finish, I just want to talk about my favourite show on TV, Loose Women. How do you find being a panelist on there? I literally love it.
Yeah, do you know what? And I know the show love you as well.
Oh,
Yeah, you're such a brilliant role model for young women and particularly young mums as well. And I think that's what Loose is. It is a place, not just for women, it's a place for men as also. They do Loose Men really well. And we have lots of male viewers as well. But it's a place that you can go and talk about such a range of subjects, which actually me and you have done on this pod. We
yeah, I
talk,
know. Yeah,
it can go from like here to
it's
here.
a
And
scattergun of contingency,
yeah,
contingents. Um,
yeah.
because I was like, because I read that there's going to be no guests on there anymore, and I was like, no, like, don't have my last ever appearance on Loose Women.
We need to get you back on next week.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I think they're going through lots of changes. So I actually joined Loose Women just as we were coming out of lockdown. So I joined when they were still social distancing on the panel. We couldn't sit near each other. So I'm kind of like a bit of a newbie compared to the OGs, because some of the OGs, it's been running 25 years and some of the women on there have been there for 25 years. So I know one of the changes are going to be, as of next year, it's only going to be on 30 weeks a year rather than every
yeah,
single Monday to Friday. But a lot of people said to me, it has been like that before. There was a time
yeah.
when it was only on term time. So yeah, I
I
don't
remember.
know.
I remember it used to be like they used to do like a big like performance. Either like the Nolans would come and perform, or like Jane McDonald would perform, and it'd be like, "See you in September."
Yeah.
But I was like, "No, I don't want to go to seasonally." But hopefully, I'm hearing there's been no audience either as well, which again, very sad because I love the audience. Like when you're there, like and they're like
Yeah.
clapping and like really like giving it back to you. It's so good.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I guess you must see it in the pod as well. Like, it's so lovely to do a pod like this, camera on, because it's nice to see each other and interact. And I think doing live telly, I make a lot of programs where it's not live. So to have that audience is amazing because it's all about what are they enjoying? What are they not enjoying? What's the tone? And I think that's important. But look, we're a group of resilient women, as are our audience, and we'll get through it. And I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll still make great telly.
I know. I can't wait. I just love it. I just love it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to the Teeny Mouse books are out. So we've got Together We're Stronger, All You Need, and the new one, which is Your Greatest Gift, which is all Christmassy themed, perfect for a book advent calendar, as it's going to be in mine. And I'll be back next week with another fabulous guest. And until then, don't forget to follow us on all the socials at Amy Hart's Mums Club. And don't forget to follow or subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening or watching. And I'll see you next week.